Morning, everybody. Who's excited for Platform SSO? I have the pleasure of introducing Adam and Chris here. They're going to rock and roll this session. So everybody give a hands up for these guys here.
Okay, there we go. Much better. Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Platform SSO, the next frontier. If you're attending this session, you must be excited about rolling out Platform SSO in your environment, and you might have a lot of questions. What an incredible audience, though, that we have here this morning. Really excited to talk to you about Platform SSO, the different authentication methods that are out there. Let you see some of the cool stuff that we've been working on with some of our identity partners like Okta. So just to introduce myself, my name is Adam Derrick. I'm a solutions engineer here at Jamf. I focus on identity, and I'm joined by Christopher.
My name is Chris. I am a systems administrator at PublicisGroupe.
Wonderful. Great, so let's discuss some key terms that we're going to be referencing throughout this presentation. So IDP stands for Identity Provider, so think Microsoft Entra ID, Okta, Google, Ping, etc. PSSO is short for Platform SSO, or Platform Single Sign-On. Secure Enclave, you might also hear that referenced as SEP. That's your hardware-backed security processor. And then Simplified Setup. This is a new method to require Platform SSO registration during the setup assistant when you have a Mac going through automated device enrollment. So authentication fatigue is very real. IT departments spend countless hours managing password resets while employees just waste time juggling multiple credentials across all your corporate applications. Meanwhile, your security teams, they battle an endless stream of phishing attempts targeting those same passwords. So you might be wondering, what is Platform SSO? Platform SSO for macOS represents a fundamental shift away from this broken model. Rather than treating authentication as an application-level concern, Platform SSO extends those single sign-on capabilities directly into the operating system, creating a unified application experience that spans the login window to every corporate application. So there's a QR code up on the screen. I encourage you to grab your phone and capture that. That will take you to jamf.it/PSSO, which is going to be your new favorite go-to resource from Jamf. I whipped up that page the other night while I was on an airplane, specifically for this audience and any of you who are watching this remotely. That page is getting updated multiple times a day. It contains everything that we're going to be discussing today during this session, as well as what is supported, what identity providers support, the specific enrollment experiences that we're going to be discussing, as well as updates for things that are not yet readily available, which we'll be talking about here in just a moment. So this is a fundamental shift. So rather than treating authentication at that application level concern, PSSO, it extends those single sign-on capabilities directly into the operating system, like I just referenced there before. But what it's doing is it's transforming the managed device itself into the authenticator. So your users are going to authenticate once during login, and they're automatically going to gain access to all their corporate web applications. So think of things like Office 365, Dropbox Business, Salesforce, your native macOS applications like Outlook, Slack, Teams, and then your cloud services and resources. So let's talk about some of the PSSO capabilities. Chris, you want to go through this one?
Yeah, let's see, during enrollment, active Platform SSO handles that authentication. It creates kind of a seamless experience, right? So when you're enrolling in Platform SSO, you've just got this registration. Our org uses Entra, so it just registers that device right into Entra so that we can see what's going on. Great password management. I'll get into that a little bit later, but it is able to sync your Entra password with your local account password. And just-in-time provisioning creates local accounts. This is really important, and I'll get into it in one of my slides for multiple users. If you have production teams, production suites that do audio and video post-production, if you have a lot of people accessing those, this is a great solution.
Cool. So Platform SSO supports multiple authentication methods, and that's to meet different organizational needs. So the password sync is going to provide that traditional password-based authentication, while Secure Enclave leverages the hardware-backed cryptographic authentication for enhanced security. And we'll talk about that here in just a few. Organizations with existing PKI infrastructure, you could integrate smart cards, things like YubiKeys. And then finally, macOS 26 and later introduces Tap to Login, which enables that contactless authentication via iPhone or Apple Watch for a seamless user experience. So let's discuss authenticated guest mode. So authenticated guest mode allows temporary users to be created after the IDP authentication. These accounts enable simplified SSO extension when logged in, and they automatically self-delete after logout. So this is perfect for maybe a higher education or a school shared Mac environment. So what that user looks like, what that workflow looks like, the user logs into that shared Mac at the login window. They use single sign-on to access their apps and any websites, and then upon logout, everything's just going to be deleted. So Tap to Login, this is something that is brand new. It is not yet available, but the last session I just presented about an hour ago, I was up on stage with our partner Swift Connect, and we were discussing Tap to Login. But this is something that's super exciting for multiple industries. Think manufacturing, think higher education, healthcare, being able to just go up to a Mac and tap with your iPhone or with your Apple Watch to be able to authenticate into your Mac using Express mode in Apple Wallet, which is pretty cool. I'm very, very excited about this. I can't wait for that. Cool. So Secure Enclave. So Secure Enclave authentication, that leverages Apple's Secure Enclave to store your hardware-bound, non-exportable authentication keys. Users authenticate using cryptographic keys that never leave the secure hardware, eliminating passwords entirely while providing enhanced protection against phishing attacks. This authentication method is currently supported by Microsoft Entra ID only. So let's explore what Secure Enclave registration looks like on an existing computer. Oh no. Wait for that to build out. And okay, well, it looks like the video doesn't want to play. I apologize for that, but we could talk through it. So what happens is in Jamf Pro, you're going to go ahead and do two things. You're going to go ahead and deploy the Microsoft Company Portal app, and you're going to go ahead and deploy a configuration profile for Secure Enclave. What's going to happen is the user will be prompted to go ahead and register for Platform SSO. They'll go ahead and receive a window. They'll go ahead and authenticate with their Microsoft Entra ID credentials. Once registration is complete, if you open up system settings, you'll actually have a new option in the user account. It'll actually let you know that you're using Platform Single Sign-On, and it'll let you know the authentication method, as well as it'll give you the ability to repair in the event that you need to repair. I apologize that video was not playing there. So,
First snafu.
Yeah, of course, the most important video. So Simplified Setup. So this was introduced in macOS 26. And Simplified Setup is the final missing link for Platform SSO. So Platform SSO has been out for 2 years. And a lot of organizations didn't adapt it because you weren't able to go ahead and deploy Platform SSO during automated device enrollment. So that link has been addressed. and now organizations are excited to utilize Simplified Setup. Right now, support for Simplified Setup is limited to Okta. So Okta is going to be introducing mid-October a new version of Okta Verify that supports Simplified Setup. So if you're an Okta customer, where are my Okta customers in a room? Awesome. You're going to be able to use Simplified Setup in about a week or two once that new version of Okta Verify drops. Microsoft is diligently working on supporting Simplified Setup. There is not a date to share with you, unfortunately, for when Microsoft will support that. Please pay attention to jamf.it/PSSO for more information on that.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully soon. I will say this. Jamf is working with Microsoft directly. We are testing this. I've seen it working. There's just some tweaks that need to be made, so fingers crossed that soon that will be supported. So let's see if this video will play here. And we're going to explore Simplified Setup with Okta. AV crew, are you able to maybe just play that video from the computer? You might have to build it out. Yeah, now you should be able to. Apologize for the technical issues here. Okay, unfortunately, it doesn't want to launch. I will say this video is on jamf.it/PSSO. I'm really bummed that we're not able to play this here. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but that video is on jamf.it/PSSO for you to view. But what it looks like, let's actually just discuss what Simplified Setup looks like. So it's a really great experience. Essentially, you're going to go ahead and do two things. So in your pre-stage enrollment, you're going to go ahead and you're going to deploy your IDP's app. So in this case, you would go ahead and deploy Okta Verify. If you're a Microsoft shop, you would go ahead and deploy the company portal, part of your pre-stage enrollment. That's required for Simplified Setup to work. Additionally, there's a config profile in Jamf Pro that you're going to go ahead and deploy as part of that pre-stage enrollment to enable Simplified Setup. Once you go through the remote management screen, you will get a Platform SSO registration prompt. The Platform SSO registration prompt is where you will authenticate with your identity provider. Once you authenticate with your identity provider, instead of getting the traditional create your local account and I can name it, Adam, it's actually going to take a look and it's going to say, oh, I'm adam.derrick@jamf.com. It's going to go ahead and create that account. I'm not going to be able to modify anything except for the picture. So this question has come up a lot in discussions at JNUC. What about Jamf Connect? Show of hands, who's using Jamf Connect in the room? Pretty much everybody. So Jamf acquired Orchard and Grove back in 2019, and we acquired Orchard and Grove. They had a tool called Nomad, which stood for No More Active Directory. What we did was we took Nomad and we took the guts of it and we made it that essentially you were able to support cloud identity. Jamf Connect served its purpose for about 6 years, but there was that final link that was missing for Platform SSO adoption, and that was Simplified Setup. Now that that is there, we want you to use Platform SSO. Jamf is not holding you back. We encourage you to utilize Platform SSO as long as your identity provider supports it. Platform SSO today is supported by Okta and Microsoft Entra ID. Who in a room uses Google? Lots of hands, lots of customers who are using Google. I encourage you to scan this QR code or take a picture of it. And for those of you who are watching this remotely online, feel free to screenshot and head on over to jamf.it/PSSO survey. I have been asked to provide a list and a count of people who are interested in PSSO for Google. So if you can be so kind to fill that out, I will pass that along to Google, and we will see where the future brings us. So that's one component of why Jamf Connect is around. It's not dead. It still has a purpose, specifically with Google identity. There's other functionalities that are baked into Jamf Connect, like privilege elevation. We're exploring how we can move those tools into things like Self-Service Plus. So Self-Service Plus, a lot of things recently got moved in there. Jamf Connect got moved into Self-Service Plus. So that's kind of the future of where things are going, or into that unified app. Additionally, Jamf is working on an automated process to migrate from Jamf Connect to Platform SSO. Stay tuned for more information on that. Be sure to check out jamf.it/PSSO for more information once we have that process ironed out. But just to sum that up, Jamf Connect is still here. You could still utilize Jamf Connect. It's not going to be sunsetted anytime soon. However, Jamf encourages you to use Platform SSO. What I've heard from most of you who are in this room, from most attendees at JNUC who have stopped by the expo hall, and from a lot of Jamf users at Octane, is that they're looking to roll out Platform SSO in waves. The first wave being brand new computers, or computers that have been reset or reassigned to another user that are going to go through automated device enrollment, and they will get Platform SSO with Simplified Setup. That has been the general consensus from most organizations. And then as computers get reset, as hardware refreshes happen, eventually, at some point, everybody will be on Platform SSO. That choice is up to you, though. And like I mentioned, we are working on using some infrastructure as code and neat tools that we have to go ahead and automate that process to move from Jamf Connect over to Platform SSO. Cool.
So this is my part of the presentation. This is kind of a real-life walkthrough of what I've done and what we've done at Group to get ready for Platform SSO. Don't laugh, we're using Enterprise Connect still to sync our passwords. It's been phenomenal. If you used it, you all know this. The Active Directory network password syncs. It still works-ish, but we'd like to make it a bit better. What we did first, a few years ago, is we had an in-house app that required our users to log in with their Entra ID. But we didn't want them to do that. We wanted the app just to appear, and to do that, we needed that SSO token. So I created a profile, an SSOE profile. Just basic. In the custom configuration, in the plist, I added our in-house app, as well as all the Microsoft apps, as well as Adobe, Monotype, anything that we used. Worked out great. This was deployed to 37,000 Macs. This is going to be important to note in a couple of the other slides coming up. We manage 37,000 Macs worldwide in an on-prem Jamf instance. So when we wanted to go to Platform SSO, from SSOE, we had to think on a large scale. We needed to target the Macs that wanted to use PSSO. We had to figure out which Macs used what version of Platform SSO, and quickly discovered 2 SSO files can't exist on the same Mac. So we had to create a switch, and this is kind of a fun little switcheroo that we did. What we came up with was creating an extension attribute to show the Platform SSO version of what we wanted, whether it was a single user just for our normal everyday folks, or if it was going to be in production for multiple users. Then we created a policy to fill in that extension attribute with the appropriate PSSO platform. We named them two separate things. Then we created a smart group with that extension attribute. Then we scoped the Platform SSO configuration profile to that extension attribute, excluded that extension attribute from the original SSO profile so that it became a policy instead of pushing that profile. The reason that we did that, again, 37,000 Macs worldwide on an on-prem Jamf instance, we just can't pull a profile and put in another one. That would be very disruptive. So we came up with this kind of switcheroo policy. This also helped me in testing, something I could put in self-service and actually test different profiles to see what we needed. So creating that profile, I followed all the guidelines from Jamf and from Microsoft. We are doing password sync. We're not to secure Enclave yet, although we'd like to get there. The real great part of this that I really like is that custom configuration preference list, because I was, again, able to add our in-house app as well as Adobe and Monotype and any other app that you have the ID for that will use that token. In our Platform SSO setup, notifications to the user are key. Those notifications come up and they're pretty aggressive. However, if a user has do not disturb on, they're not going to pop up. We just kind of rolled with it and hope that they see that notification. Eventually they will. We follow this up with an email out to comms to worldwide to let them know to look for that notification.
There are some extension attributes that you could set up in Jamf Pro as well to kind of monitor the status of Platform SSO in your environment. That way you could reach out to those users who are blatantly ignoring you.
We'll be doing that as well. Let's see if this one plays. Oh, it does not. So my builds aren't running either. Oh no. So what I had showed was the password and password rotation. I'm sure that you've seen these videos set up. I watched them yesterday. What we do is post local account creation, register, and go through the basic registration. Instead of using Secure Enclave though, we just went basic, right? Just that password. So that IDP password is going to be synchronized with the local account password, vice versa. So everything is in sync.
And today, password sync is supported by both Okta and Microsoft Entra ID. Secure Enclave, as of today, is only supported by Microsoft Entra ID. Our friends at Okta have let us know that it is on their roadmap.
Our next slide was going to be our password rotation. So again, we're using password, and we have to rotate our passwords every 90 days. So in that password rotation, we go to Microsoft's account, right? Change our password. But how does that local account password get changed? It's supposed to do it in 1 hour. It never does because it's technology. So what you do is, easy way to fix this is you log out, log back in using your original password. Once you do that, you're going to get a notification to register your computer again with Entra. And you run through that, you'll get a little window that you'll have to put in your new password that you just created. It will sync, and then you'll get, I hope this one will play.
Very similar experience to Jamf Connect, but less prompts, less screens, and in my opinion, it's more prettier looking.
After you sync, they'll get this, your users will get this, a nice account updated, so they'll know that their password is actually synced. Kind of like Enterprise Connect. except we have to let our users know when they need to change that password. But for validation, for verification, for peace of mind, they'll know that their passwords are updated and synced. So we are testing Secure Enclave, which I like a lot better. I've been using it on my daily Mac, and this is the configuration that I've used. There is an extra step when you register after the local account's been created, just to activate passkeys. We're not using passkeys yet, but when we do, we want to make sure that they're in the appropriate location that we can use them. The local account password isn't synced with your IDP. And this is something that I'm trying to advocate for. That password, your Entra password for us, that's set. You should have another password for your local account. That's the best security. You've got 2 passwords. And the one for your Mac lets you in. You can do your fingerprint authentication biometrics. And then you've got your Entra password. But if you're using Secure Enclave, you'll never have to use that Entra password. It's a secure private key that goes into that Secure Enclave.
Yeah, and many folks in the industry will say Secure Enclave is the more preferred method. I don't want to say it's the more secure method officially, but that's the general consensus, is that it is the more secure method because it is leveraging that Secure Enclave. But I will let that live there. The one really neat thing, as Chris mentioned, is you have your identity provider password, but then, just like your iPhone, you could set a 6-digit PIN that meets the security requirements of your organization through a configuration profile. So definitely encourage you to push down an additional config profile if you are using Secure Enclave that meets those requirements. I've heard feedback from some people that are like, well, I don't want our users to have 2 different passwords. But in a way, what I've heard and what I've seen is that people are actually happy to have 2 different passwords because they have their corporate password for their identity provider that they use for everything at work, but then they could use their own password that meets those strong authentication requirements for Secure Enclave to log into the Mac. So.
And as administrators, we can set that complexity of that password, how long it's going to be, if that password needs to be rotated, so it's double security.
So we're going to be talking about Platform SSO at Setup Assistant next. And this slide was supposed to be after the video. I just coordinated with a couple people when I went off stage. At the end of our presentation here, I am going to show you that video. So I got the thumbs up in the back that, thank you, Dr. K. So we will show you that video after we're done with the presentation. But Chris is going to go through what does that actually look like on the back end, what's actually happening other than an account getting created with your Okta credentials.
This is what happens on the back end. Hopefully this build works. And Platform SSO at Setup Assistant. Process works like this. First, the macOS requests enrollment and informs the device management service that it supports Platform SSO during enrollment. That's the very first thing. So the device isn't enrolled yet. This is the fun part. It returns a 403 error that includes information on where to find that SSO configuration and what app is using that SSO extension. For Entra users, that would be the company portal. For Okta, it would be Okta Verify. So it's going there first before it even gets enrolled. The macOS downloads and installs the Platform SSO extension and all the configurations. This is where the magic happens, where you get that window before enrollment.
Is anybody in here using managed Apple accounts, formerly managed Apple IDs? Yeah, we got plenty of people using that. The 403 method that was just mentioned there, it's the very similar process to if you're using managed Apple accounts when somebody would go ahead and sign in on a Mac or on an iOS device to enroll it, and it's reaching out to say, hey, here I am, what should I do? That's what the 403 method is. So.
Cool. After it installs the Platform SSO extension configuration, configures Platform SSO and performs device registration. And then if attestation is configured, it's done silently, prompts users to authenticate using their IDP. So in this, it's going to be a password, or it's going to be a smart card or an access key to do that registration within that window, right? Users can't proceed without actually doing this. So this is a good kind of lock mechanism, so users can't just bypass this.
Or if the FedEx guy drops the computer off at the wrong house.
Exactly. Your IDP will handle the authentication. For us, it would be Entra. After a successful authentication, the IDP returns that bearer token back to the macOS. And in there, the bearer token to authenticate enrollment, and then if you're federated, if you can use managed Apple accounts, log in with that as well. Little caveat, iCloud Setup Assistant needs to be unchecked in the pre-stage enrollment.
Yeah.
And then macOS creates that local account, and for our organization, it's going to sync that password. Or if you're using Secure Enclave, it's just going to set that local password, and it's going to do the Secure Enclave back key. It's going to do that switch. If necessary, again, just what we talked about, you can enforce that local account password. I'd like to start using blueprints, enforce it with that, but you can enforce it with an MDM profile.
And then the last little note up there about syncing the picture from the IDP, that is contingent upon the IDP supporting that.
Oops, I had to go back all the way through these again. You know what? If you want, get a picture. Oh, I went back. I found this really cool because I really didn't know how that would work before the device gets enrolled, because we've been doing all this post-local account creation enrollment. So it was good to see something like this that explained everything, what was happening behind the scenes. In that pre-stage profile, though, there are two areas that you need to be aware of. Enable registration during setup, you have to enable that, and then create the first user account.
Yeah, we worked internally at Jamf. We've worked with our product team on several different mock-ups of what this should look like. We wanted it to be the best-in-class experience for you to go set up and configure. So as you can see, there's just 3 little toggles there for you to turn on. It's not horrible for you to set up. If you've ever set up and configured Jamf Connect, that could be a fun little challenge, but this is just 3 little toggles.
Which is great. Yeah, it's just 3 toggles, and then the setup assistant, it's just a checkbox, and then you put in the bundle ID of what you're using. Entra, Okta, hopefully Google.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. For our org, we've got 2 setups. We've got production, we've got single user. This was key for us in production. Instead of binding our Macs to AD so that we could have multiple users log in, we can now use Platform SSO. What this does is it creates another user just using Platform SSO. So that user is created on that Mac, and instead of getting all that information, all that stuff just erased after they log out, everything is kept as it is. So if we've got 3 or 4 interns or 3 or 4 new hires coming in and they have something set up that they want to see or they want to do, it remains. And what was really key was that string at com.apple.platform SSO, that creates that short name. We were having difficulties because it was all bleeding in. The email address was all bleeding in. So it was, C. Scalise, PublicisGroupe, net. We wanted just the short name because that connects to a lot of our in-house apps. So this is the second Platform SSO profile that we're dishing out, which is the reason why we have policies instead of just a push out of the profile.
So we talked about a lot here today, and you kept hearing me reference jamf.it/PSSO, and I'm going to keep referencing it throughout JNUC. That is the home for everything Platform SSO. Once we have more tech docs, that will point to the Jamf tech docs as well. I apologize for the AV issues with the videos. Those videos that we were going to show are on that PSSO info page. The PSSO survey, please, we have 350 people in this room. Your input is extremely valuable. If you could scan that QR code when you're on the airplane, if you're in your hotel room late at night and you're thinking about Platform SSO, just fill that out. It's 5 questions. It'll help us drive Platform SSO adoption. It helps our partnerships with our partners like Okta and Microsoft Entra ID. So if you could please fill that out, we'd very much appreciate that. We got about 9 minutes left. So what we're gonna do, I got the thumbs up. We're gonna play the Simplified Setup experience video with Okta for you all to see. We're probably not gonna have time for Q&A, but I will say this. In room 110 at 11:30, we have the lounge today and tomorrow. Feel free to come in there. I have a table. We could chat about PSSO. Additionally, up in the expo hall, we have the Platform SSO Plaza. I'll be there all day tomorrow if you have any questions that you want to ask me. But let's go ahead and see if we could get that video playing so you guys could see the experience. Awesome. Cool. So here we got a brand new Mac that is enrolling through automated device enrollment. So right now it's retrieving the enrollment profile. It's going to go ahead and it's going to download the necessary config profiles that we need. We're going to go ahead and authenticate here with Okta. So we're going to go ahead and sign in as Jane Appleseed. So Jane's going to go ahead and authenticate. And once Jane authenticates, depending on her IDP, she might have to enable push notification or something of that nature. And once we go ahead and approve that push notification, we have that capability to proceed further. The cool thing with Okta, Okta has some partnerships where you can actually have somebody validate their identity, like if they're a brand new user with a driver's license. So go talk to folks at Okta about that. It's actually really cool. I saw that at Octane last week. But you'll see right now it's enrolling itself into Jamf Pro. It's going to go ahead and grab all those necessary config profiles. We're just going to speed that up a little bit for time's sake. This is Jamf Setup Manager. This is a tool I encourage everybody in the room to use. If you've ever used like Dep Notify or anything like that, this is a Jamf built tool. So this will let your users know the status of what's going on. So you'll see Self-Service Plus, Jamf Protect, Okta Verifies, all installing. So we don't want to continue without Okta Verify, so that's where Jamf Setup Manager is extremely important. So now that we got Okta Verify, you get the single sign-on for Mac window. Now we're going to go ahead and authenticate with our IDP. This process here might change in the future, but currently we're going to go ahead and authenticate with our IDP credentials. Once we go ahead and authenticate, it's going to go ahead and sign us in. And you'll see Jane Appleseed is signed in. The home folder is set to jane.appleseed. We can't change our password, and we could change our photo, and that's it. Next, our account is getting created. So in the background, that account is getting created, the home folder is getting created, and then any additional setup assistant prompts that we have enabled, like Touch ID for Okta FastPass, we will be prompted for that stuff here in just a moment. So next, we're going to go ahead and register for Touch ID. This is super important for Okta FastPass. It's a really nice experience. We use Okta internally at Jamf. I love having access to Okta FastPass. So we're just going to go ahead and authenticate that here. We're going to go ahead and select Continue. And we get the next window saying, hey, we're going to continue with Platform Single Sign-On. We're going to go ahead and do one additional browser prompt popping up to actually have you go ahead and set up things like FastPass. Cool. So next, the computer is actually registering itself. Now that registration is complete, we're going to continue through any additional setup assistant prompts like light mode or dark mode. And before you know it, we're going to be at the home screen, ready to go. Our local account is going to be created with those Okta credentials. We're going to have Platform SSO tokens present, so any application that supports single sign-on, and we open that up. we're going to be authenticated and we're going to be able to access that application. So whether that's a tool like Microsoft Teams, or if we go open Safari and go to Office 365, or we open Salesforce or Dropbox for Business, those SSO tokens are going to go ahead and authenticate us into those applications. So I know that was a super, super condensed demo. Thank you so much, Dr. K, for getting that video up there for us to see. If you want to see this more, if you want to dive into this stuff more, Room 110 from 11:30 to 12:15 today and tomorrow. We have the lounge. Feel free to stop by there. Also, feel free to stop by the PSSO Plaza. Thank you so much for attending. We're going to skip Q&A just because of the audience and the time remaining, but enjoy the rest of JNUC. If you need anything else, my name's Adam Derrick. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn or aderrick@jamf.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks all. Cool.